My name is Sissy, and I grew up under terrible conditions because my mom was mentally ill. She often made me steal stuff from shops because no one suspected a little girl like me to be a thief. Of course, I was scared of being caught, but my mom gave me no choice. However, one night she drank too much and fell down the stairs. Suddenly, she couldn't walk anymore, and I had to take care of her even though I was only 11. We quickly ran out of food, and I said, "Mommy, the fridge is empty and I'm hungry." She responded, "Stop complaining. Instead, go catch some cockroaches so we can eat them." Was she serious? I was petrified of those disgusting little insects, but I still trapped one of them and showed it to my mom. She told me to cook it, but we only had a toaster, so I killed it and put it in there. After I'd given it to my mom to eat, I caught many more roaches and even ate my very first small baby cockroach. It tasted okay, so I started to catch hundreds of them and became the provider of my family. But then the toaster broke and we had to eat them raw. Of course, they were extremely dirty, so we often got sick, but at least we had a full stomach. I continued living like this for weeks until people from the government came into our apartment and took me away from my mom, even though I screamed and wanted to stay with her. I was brought into a children's home where people explained to me that my mom was mentally ill, but no one wanted to tell me where she was or who was taking care of her. I felt abandoned and scared, but there was one thing that made me feel safe, and that was eating roaches. So whenever I saw one, I picked it up and put it into a toaster and ate it. The taste gave me a feeling of comfort because it reminded me of my mom. I started eating so many of them that I got salmonella infection and had to go to the hospital. When I told the doctor that I was addicted to eating cockroaches, he brought me to a psychologist who told me that there was nothing wrong about eating roaches as long as they were clean. He convinced me to start farming roaches, and that turned out to be much easier than I had thought. All I needed was a box of roaches and some fruits to feed them. After a few months, I had more than 1,000 of them. But I made a big mistake and let them roam around my room freely, because one baby roach crawled through my nose and into my brain while I was asleep. I didn't know what was going on, only that my nose hurt. I kept it untreated for several days until I visited a doctor who saw something moving way up my nose. It took several hours to pull the cockroach out, but from then, I always kept them locked in my box. But I had bigger problems. I had no friends or family, and I was feeling extremely lonely. That's why I started binge eating cockroaches. I probably gained 10 kilograms in 3 months, and I knew I had to change my life or my roach addiction would kill me. I still remember my last roach. It was a small baby one, maybe 1 centimeter big. I ate it raw and alive. Then I brushed my teeth and said, never again. Afterward, I thought I needed an education to get ahead in life, so I taught myself writing and reading by spending most of my days at the library. 6 months later, I enrolled myself in university. There I moved into a dorm, but the other girls didn't like me. They said I smelled bad and lived like a pig. I guess they were right. My mother had never taught me to clean up anything, and now I had to learn to shower daily and wash my hands when I got home. But because no one liked me, I had lots of time to study, and it reflected through my grades. One rainy afternoon while at the library, I bumped into a guy. He was dressed in all black and apologized. I could tell he was different, just like me. I asked, "What are you studying here?" And he responded, "I'm studying philosophy." We sat down at a cafe and talked for hours. He was just like me. He said his family had raised him on a farm but mostly neglected him. He said they didn't speak a single word with him from age 11 to 16. His only friends were books until he ran away and found a job as a construction worker. But his love for reading brought him to a university, just like it did for me. I had a weird feeling when I looked at him. I can't describe it, but it felt good. And 1 week later, we had our first date. We were lying next to each other on the grass when he laid his hand on my belly. Of course I was nervous. I had never had a guy touch me. I didn't know what to do. But then he just kissed me. It was the most intense feeling I've ever had, and I got so aroused that I bit into his lip. He said ouch and went back on his back. I apologized and saw that he was bleeding. Gosh, what had I done? I was so stupid. I said, "I'm so sorry. I've never kissed a guy before." "It's okay, don't worry. I just didn't know you like it that way." "What do you mean by that way?" "You like it rough. That's okay." "No, I don't think so." He went back on top of me and gently choked me. "Do you like this?" I couldn't speak, so I just nodded. I loved the way he played with me. It was the first time I felt truly attracted to a guy. Afterward, we became a couple and spent all our time together. I loved sitting next to him in the library so I could watch him read books. He always looked so handsome. But one day, he was just gone. He didn't respond to my text, and his dorm mate said he had disappeared without saying anything. Of course, I was worried. Maybe something had happened to him, so I called up all the hospitals, but he wasn't there. Maybe he had left because of me. Maybe he didn't love me anymore. I suddenly remembered my mom. For years I had avoided thinking about her, but now it all came back, especially the guilt that I had not taken care of her. I stayed inside my bed for days, crying my heart out until I decided I had to find her. Maybe she was still alive, so I went to the police and asked them to find out where they had brought my mom 10 years ago. It took them 2 weeks to figure out, but the news wasn't good. My mom had died shortly after we were separated. I can't describe how hard the news hit me. I was absolutely devastated. I knew I was close to giving up and asked myself, is my life worth living? The answer was, no, it's not. But I knew it could become worth living if I got a nice job, found a husband, and had kids someday. Yes, that would be a life worth living. And that's what I'm working towards right now.